Now that's not true. I'm going to have the Elder Sakaran read that.
Acts chapter 2, verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under heaven.
And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven, because you had Israelites that were scattered throughout the four corners of the earth,
right.
And you had Jews of the tribe of Judah that were in these lands, and they would come to Jerusalem 3 times a year because they understood about the laws, statutes, and commandments, and they knew that in certain books of the law, like in Deuteronomy 16 and 16, it was commanded them to come to Jerusalem 3 times a year for the feast.
That's right.
You got something, brother?
Okay.
Bring it out.
This is 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 1. Follow after charity and desire spiritual gifts, but rather that ye may prophesy.
Go ahead.
For because they were prophesying in different tongues for the Israelites. They came to worship at Jerusalem because they had to come 3 times in a year. But they knew different languages, so the 12 disciples were speaking in their tongues, and they were prophesying unto them in their own language. That was the power that they received. Okay, follow after charity and desire spiritual gifts, but rather that ye may prophesy. For he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto the Most High.
Right, because Paul was telling the. Because the Jews, what they were trying to do is them wicked Pharisees and Sadducees, they were trying to get the Israelite foreigners not only to get circumcised right away, even though they were supposed to, but he was trying to get them to follow the laws of Moses perfectly,
right?
To speak Hebrew, so they was trying to like put a burden on these people that they themselves couldn't bear,
right?
So that's why Paul was telling them, breaking it down to them, he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh unto the Most High, because only the Most High understands what this guy is saying. Go ahead.
For no man understandeth him, howbeit in the spirit he speaketh mysteries.
He speaketh mysteries. So it's not talking about that it's talking about speaking in a different language. Go ahead.
Okay. But he that prophesieth speaketh unto men to edification and exhortation and comfort. He that speaketh in an unknown tongue edifieth himself, but he that prophesieth edifieth the church.
Right, because the word prophesieth means to break it down.
Right.
I mean, the word prophesy itself means to say before it happens, but it also is talking about breaking something down, making somebody understand it in the least common denominator possible. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I would that ye all spake with tongues, but rather that ye prophesy.
Right. Paul was saying, look, I would rather that all of you spoke with different languages, but it was better for you to be able to prophesy or to be able to break it down. Because you can't just say something and not break it down. You got to say it and break it down. Go ahead.
Okay. For greater is he that prophesieth than he that speaketh with tongues, except he interpret, that the church may receive edifying.
That's the key. The word is edifying.
Right, because the point I was trying to make is like the brother was saying, the Pentecostal church, they start sha-la-la-la-la, like the brother was saying, and then who's there to interpret that? You're supposed to interpret that for the edification of the congregation,
right? And
let them know what is being said. Well, what is being said is bullshit.
Exactly.
When they do that, because it's all they know it's bull. Really, what it is demons.
It's demons, and it's a racket.
And it's a racket, right? Pretty much it's a racket.
Yep.
Okay, they make money, and the people think that they're doing something holy,
right?
That the Holy Spirit is upon them, and it's mostly women that buy into that bullshit.
Which goes back to them not studying, not going into this, not looking up words, not breaking things down. I mean, these weren't this particular chapter is a bad chapter, and there's some words in here that I want that we can go into. But we try to stick to the subject at hand.
Right.
But I want you to read on down, because we're going to read to about the 8th, 9th verse.
Okay. All right. And I would that ye all spake with tongues, but rather that ye prophesy. For greater is he that prophesieth than he that speaketh with tongues, except he interpret, that the church may receive edifying.
Right. So now why are you going to speak to the church in a language that they don't understand? They're not going to receive the edification. The reason why you're bringing the scriptures out is to break it down to them so they can understand. So why are you going to go into it in a different language? Now, don't get simple, because you're gonna have some guys that say, well, then that means that you could call on the name of Jesus and on the name of God.
Right.
You don't have to worry about the Hebrew name. No, the Hebrew names are very important, because
right.
the scriptures point out that those names are very important.
That's right.
So there's certain things that you do have to know in the Hebrew.
That's right.
But when you're speaking and you're breaking things down in the scriptures, you break it down to them in the language that they understand.
That's right.
But you also give them the name, because the scriptures say that through the name of Yahweh Shai, that's the only name given whereby men shall be saved.
That's right, man.
So that's a very important name. And that's not a hard thing to commit to your memory if the Lord is with you. Go ahead.
6th verse. Now, brethren, if I come unto you speaking with tongues, what shall I profit you?
Right, so because Paul spoke different tongues. He spoke Hebrew, he spoke Greek, he might have spoke Aramean, because the Jews were not speaking Aramaic. The only ones that were speaking the Aramaic language was the top leaders. They understood. The common people, they were speaking the regular Hebrew, the Lashawan Kodash. Paul spoke different languages. I'm sure he spoke Aramaic. He probably spoke Latin,
right,
because Latin was a predominant language back then among the Romans.
That's right.
And you had some of the Israelite foreigners. They spoke Greek, and some of them spoke Latin, and some of them spoke all these different languages you read of in the book of Acts, the 2nd chapter. So Paul was saying, read that again.
Now, brethren, if I come unto you speaking with tongues, what shall I profit you?
Right. Well, how am I going to profit you if I'm speaking to you in a different language? That's why the whole thing about the Pentecost came about, where the Lord put the Spirit on the 12 to speak in different languages, so that all of those Israelites there that were there from different lands and spoke the different languages, they can hear the word of the Most High in their own language, because that was indicative of what was going to happen in the future, how the word was going to be taught and brought out in different languages, to gather back the elect of Israel from the four corners of the earth.
Huh. Alright, it says, except I shall speak to you either by revelation, or by knowledge, or by prophesying, or by doctrine.
Go ahead.
And even things without life, giving sound, whether pipe or harp, except they give a distinction in the sounds, how shall it be known what is piped or harp?
Right. So if you got somebody that's I could play the guitar, or I could play the trombone, or I could play the banjo or whatever, and he starts picking some bullshit, you're gonna be like, man, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
But now if he starts playing a James Brown song, or if he starts playing
something you can recognize,
yeah. or if the enemy's coming and he starts whistling Dixie, you're not gonna be prepared for the battle.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to know what the hell this guy is piping. You know, this guy is mad, man. This is just nothing but a bunch of noise.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For if, 8th verse, for if the trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle?
Right. If the trumpet give an uncertain sound, like if you got like in the ancient world, you had the gates, you had the tower, and if you had the man that was on the tower, and then the enemy's coming, and he's piping some holiday festival type song,
right,
you're not going to be ready for the enemy to come, which is what we're doing right now. We're blowing the trumpet,
right,
and we're blowing the trumpet of the alarm of war. And when you finish there, get out Jeremiah, I believe it's 2:19, and we're blowing the trumpet of the alarm of war. And also that's also talking about a guy that's supposed to be a leader, or a guy that's supposed to teach Israel, and instead of piping the alarm of war, he's talking about get a job, go to college, peace with the white man, obey the powers that be, be a doctor,
be a cop.
Be a cop. We're talking about Nate Satan right now, you know. Even though, you know, like the Elder Tar said, you know, he believes he's a man of the Lord. And, you know, we see that because we were back then and we understand certain spiritual things. But if you got a guy teaching like that, he's not sounding the alarm of war.
Right.
He's not blowing the trumpet.
He's leading the flock to the slaughter.
He's leading the flock to the slaughter by promising them peace when there is no peace.
Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 19. Thine own wickedness shall correct thee, and thy backslidings shall reprove thee.
Right, right.
Know therefore and see that it is an evil thing and bitter that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy power, and that my fear is not in thee, saith the Lord power of hosts.
Right. That's a good one, because that's basically blowing a trumpet. That's what we're supposed to be telling Jake. Right. But there's another one. It's 4:19.